interesting companies. Perfect. And as you can see, I an AI generated this image. I don't know if what we think about AI generated images as of now, but I thought it was cool that it was able to whip this up. It took like half a minute. All right. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about funding and open remarks, and then there's going to be two sessions following that. What our vision is, the Deep Tech Showcase vision is to bring more deep tech to market by leveraging the power of community. So basically, helping companies that have really interesting technologies, new technologies, cutting edge, bleeding edge technologies, get them to the market because a lot of the times there are some really good ideas out there, but unfortunately, just the way the system works is that you're not the system, but the way things work out sometimes isn't as advantageous to the companies as we would like it to be. So we're trying to change that one showcase at a time, right? So we created an ecosystem where startups can get in front of tech scouts from both corporations as well as the government and get in front of investors as well. And all that with the same goal of, getting to market. Today, we're having a showcase event. This is one of the two main things that we do. But basically, every month we have an event that is a different topic, any kind of topic that's relevant for dual use, we call it, meaning that it's both relevant for the government as well as the private sector. We try to cover it with the exception of healthcare and some certain financial technologies we stay not stay away from, but are less covered. Let's put it that way. And then in addition to that, we do guided introductions. So if I know there's some investors in the audience, and there's some folks on the panel, and the same goes for government folks and corporate folks. If you see a company today that you say, hey, that company is really cool, I want to talk to them. Feel free to let me know. Happy to make an introduction wherever I can and however I can. The goal is to foster this push forward for deep tech. And then here, my slides are a little stuck. And the upcoming showcases we're having, this one's energy, in case you didn't know. The next one is Industry 4.0. And then after that, we have microelectronics and semiconductors. So all of that should be really interesting. And now I'm going to cede the floor to Joshua Gee, who's going to talk about our parent company, Eagle Point Funding.
Thank you, Asher, for the introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Joshua Gee. I'm a business development manager here at Eagle Point Funding. So I just want to tell you a bit about what it is Eagle Point Funding does and how we can help you secure US federal funding grants for your tech startup. So essentially, our scope of work is broken down into two parts. The first is the grant writing, navigating through the federal funding system and finding those best opportunities, and then with the actual taking part of the majority of the grant writing process. So yeah, we've been in the federal funding game since 1999. So we know, very familiar with federal agencies and which types of agencies are looking for which type of tech. And then the way we work with you is typically over a longer engagement, over usually 18 months, where we can work on a multi-submission strategy, applying to as many different opportunities as we can from various different funding mechanisms, SBIRs, broad agency announcements, commercial acceleration opportunities, etc. The idea is to bring you back as much as we can in awards, finding the best projects for your tech. And finally, the way that we write about your technology, being very familiar with the federal funding system and the agencies, and having been in this game a long time now, we're very familiar with the types of language and trigger words which the agencies are looking for to make your tech as relevant or speak to that agency as well, in the most attractive way possible. So yeah, that's essentially our services. And as you might be familiar with, the Deep Tech Showcase, in the meantime, while we're applying for grants, we're also connecting you to members of government, VCs, corporate tech scouts, etc., to get your tech out in front of the right people. So if you find that to be something which you'd like to explore in more detail, then please book a call with me. you can do so with the barcode beside my photo there, or following the link. If you have any questions you'd like to reach out to me, please feel free to do so. My email is provided here. So yeah, we can jump on a call, discuss your tech in more detail, and work out whether it's a good fit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. All right. And if I could get my PowerPoint to move forward, we will. So session one is going to be, this opening presentation and introducing the panel, followed by Demya. I think I saw Matt jump on. He's going to be presenting for Demya. Then Glimpse, Superseed, Energy Audit, Amsara, Terra Fusion. And we'll get to session two when we get to session two. Just a full disclosure, this might not be relevant to the folks here right now, but sometimes we run a little late. So the introduction for session two is slightly shorter. So I apologize in advance if that's the case here. Hopefully it won't be, but I can't promise anything, right? So with that, I want to introduce the panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around, and I would love to hear from the panel. This might be a little bit, I might be a little bit of a broken record, but who you are, where you're from, and then also what type of energy and innovation do you find most promising, or what you're looking forward to seeing today, if relevant. So we're going to get started with Brent Zettel, if he's on.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah, thanks, Asher. Yeah, I'm Brent. I'm a partner at Greater Ventures, and we invest in early stage companies that are bringing important innovations that impact well-being for people or the planet. So climate tech is a significant focus area for us, including in deep tech. And we also bring together a network of industry leaders and angels that's open to anyone, and it's free to join, but it's largely made of people that are operators in the industries in which we invest. And so whenever we invest, we also make that investment available for the folks in our network to invest alongside with us. And so for founders, we're always excited to kind of bring the resources of that network to support founders along their journey. And so I guess I'll leave it there. But excited to, you guys do a great job. You guys are a platform for people doing exciting work always. So thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining. Happy to have you. All right, next up we have Alex Hamilton.
Hi, sorry, I'm traveling, so I'm off camera.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm a 30-year Wall Street veteran. Focus a lot on dual use technologies, anything right, commercial/military. In terms of the energy side, we primarily look at anything alternative. In fact, we have a presence in Calgary, Alberta, so we're pretty tapped into the energy looking very forward to all the presentations today.
All right. I think you cut out a little bit, Alex, but hopefully when you get to a better area, we'll be able to hear you better. But thank you for joining. Next up, we have Adarsh Sokar.
Hi everyone, thank you, Ashar. I'm Adarsh, work for Saint-Gobain Nova, the CVC arm of Saint-Gobain. Saint-Gobain is a French advanced materials company and primarily focused on industrial decarbonization, energy transition, and sustainability within the built environment. As a CVC firm, we focus on early stage investments in startups as well as strategic partnerships with startups. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Next up, David Soares.
Thank you, Asher. Sorry, I was a little bit late to the meeting here. Lexton Family Office primarily invests in small infrastructure projects, mostly smart city related or sustainability related. I'm also past chair of the Finance Committee for Smart Cities Council, so I'm involved with cities, and my partner, Leading Cities, is involved with introducing new technologies to cities So if anyone has technologies that they think would be interesting to pilot in cities, we'd be very happy to make those introductions.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining, David. And I think there are a few companies that would be interested in that. Next up, we have Muzib Khan from Kyocera.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you guys all, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the presenters very soon. I work for Kyocera. It's a Japanese company, and pretty diversified in our product portfolio. But our current focus, I am a technology-focused corporate R&D's scout in Sunnyvale, California. So what we are focusing on is startups and the materials. We are a materials company in one sense, so we are very deeply involved in the materials technology. Also in the energy space, starting from battery to anything else, including fusion. So we are very open to understanding what's going on and listen to some of your colleagues here who have got deeper experience to learn from them. And decarbonization or climate tech that someone also talked about is a core area of our interest. So with that, I am open to any questions if anyone has. So please reach out to me for the startups. We can discuss more. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for joining. All right. Next up, we have Paul Garcia.
Hi, Asher. Paul Garcia with the Air Force Office of Energy Assurance. Work with Booz Allen supporting that office. Our office is in charge of installation energy, and that is utility connected services like power and water and gas. So we're responsible for energy resilience across 200 bases around the world.
Nice. Thank you for joining. And yeah, hopefully some of the startups today will be interesting for that. Next up, we got Rudy Besa.
Hi, good morning, afternoon. Rudy Besa, of course, based out of Edwards Air Force Base. For those who knows Edwards, it's a test base, so definitely interested in seeing anything that comes out in this meeting and see how we can collaborate and connect you guys with program offices. So, hello, welcome.
Happy to have you. Thank you so much. All right. I believe that wraps up the panel introductions. For now, if I missed someone, feel free to raise your hand. And also, as I mentioned earlier, if we run out of time and don't make it to all the panel introductions for the second panel, what I'll ask you to do is to just quickly introduce yourself after you ask a question. Just a quick reminder to everyone here, our goal is to give feedback and ask questions. So if possible, and if you have a question, don't be shy. Feel free to speak up. Our goal is obviously to create that ecosystem, that networking. So yeah, I'm really excited for the panel to be involved and looking forward to the presentations. And with that, let's get underway. Matt Yeager from Demia, I believe, will be kicking it off, and you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
All right, thanks a lot. Let me pull this up, hit share from there. All right, can you see that?
Yep.
Cool. All right, well, nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me. I'm Matt Yeager. I'm the founder and CEO of Demia. At Demia, we're building trusted data infrastructure, and our goal is to transform sustainability from a cost center into the world's greatest growth opportunity. I've been working for almost a decade with a number of different companies in the space and outside the space. We have a great relationship with the CTO office at Dell, GE Research, Cisco, a number of companies in the blockchain side of things for secure data, and a number of carbon market standards and major NGOs in the sustainability space. I led open collaboration with Gold Standard. I'm on their digital expert committee. I was also U.S. Army, so combat veteran, serving in Iraq during 2008 and 2009 in Sadr City. Got to do some fun military intelligence stuff there before coming back to the NSA, doing cyber, being the first Army enlistment or re-enlistment for the Cyber MOS down in Pensacola, helping stand that up, move into Cyber Command, and build out Cyber Command, the national mission teams, and a number of other things. So a lot of deep tech cyber experience at the agency level. some digital forensic experience at the Department of Defense Cyber Crime Center when I worked with General Dynamics before coming into blockchain and sustainability in 2017, 2018. And so with Demia, our focus is carbon markets. It's a kind of a shit show, to put it frankly. When you look at the market, it's been around for about 30 years, but it's not digital. There's thousands of standards. None of them are digital. A lot of them compete with each other. It's a highly fragmented market, but there's 5 major stakeholders. There's the ones that create the positive impact. There's the auditors known as VVBs in the space that verify and validate that impact. There's the carbon market standards like Gold Standard, Verra, et cetera. And then there's marketplaces that facilitate the trade of those carbon credits and the offtake with major companies in various sectors that are major emitters. So with Demia, we're really focused on how do we streamline the flow between these actors? How do we digitize and codify as much of it as possible with a trusted data infrastructure? We've got dozens of different projects in nature, biogas, energy, and a number of other areas that we're scaling out this year and next year as a fairly young company, but we've got a great team behind us and some great advisors and support. So we've really been able to plant our flag in the ground quickly and scale up pretty fast. We look at the market from those 5 stakeholders. Each of them has a problem, but the problem comes down to 3 major market problems. It's highly fragmented. People don't trust the assets and the impact that they're making, and it's massively inefficient. So how do we make it less fragmented? How do we create trust in the assets and the impact? And how do we do so efficiently? And that's really everything we focus on when it comes to our solutions and infrastructure from Demia. So you've met me as the founder and CEO. My co-founder and CTO is based out of Calgary. My VP of operations is also a prior service from the Navy and ran a number of things at Harvard Innovation Labs and taught data science and machine learning at Johns Hopkins. Nick Parker, who's the father of clean tech, chairs my board of directors to make sure I head in the right direction and make the right decisions. And then Katie Sullivan, who's the managing director of the International Emissions Trading Association, chairs our advisory board, along with a number of others across Canada and the US predominantly, and some European influence as well, on how do we scale this out and build a global carbon market that actually operates effectively. With Demia, we're enabling that trust in data. We're carbon data management infrastructure through the operations and the capabilities we have to secure data, remove friction, amplify impact, and unlock value. We can identify data sources, create digital signatures, do a number of different metadata annotations, do direct verification on the impact and the sources, and encrypt everything along the way. So there's a ton of cybersecurity tools and capabilities built into this. Every facility we integrate with gets a digital twin. VVBs can come onto our platform and verify in more of a QA/QC process than a traditional process, where traditionally they have to go to these facilities in person, run around for a few weeks, do it multiple times a year, and come out with an annual estimation based on samples. Now they don't have to do that because we have minute-by-minute data that's traceable, verifiable, secure, and has the highest level of integrity of anything out there in the market. We're the infrastructure that scales carbon markets. So as we come into a project, we gather the documents. You can kind of think of us as a virtual data room for anything that a carbon project developer needs, along with the actual data from their sensors and their devices and the analytics on top of it. So it's a one-stop shop for project developers to say, here's everything that you need to trust what I'm doing. I want to focus on making impact, look at my data, do the compliance and reporting, do the analytics, and understand that I am making that impact and help incentivize that impact to make it profitable for me to do so. So we have a data fabric, which is built on blockchain, but there's no cryptocurrency. We've got a number of peer-to-peer zero trust tools built into it. We have a publishing engine, an analytics engine, and a reporting engine that manage this process pretty seamlessly, and we're constantly iterating on them. And we've got a number of financial partners across the US, and the UK and Canada that are working with us to create this carbon ecosystem and facilitate the purchase of high integrity credits. So we really have those 3 major components. We've got that unified data platform, which all the data is in. You can see the documents, you can see all the reporting, you can see minute-by-minute data, the data sources, attestations, and a number of other things. We streamline that through our fabric, and we automate as much of that compliance as possible. This results in a pretty significant decrease in operational costs. Audit times can happen on a monthly basis, if not faster, but right now monthly seems to be the go-to because it's still 12 times faster than what they're typically used to. This also leads to 4 to 8 times faster certification, where we can certify a project on the voluntary side of the market in as little as 3 to 6 months, whereas before it can take 3 to 4 years for that certification to happen. And we're also seeing a pretty significant increase in the value of the credits. So instead of a company getting $5 per ton for a credit, they're now able to get 10 to 15, sometimes in the range of 40 to 50, depending on the project type. So by enabling trust in their data and their impact, it does create a direct financial return. It makes their impact more efficient. It helps trust the impact, and it helps them scale up how much impact they make in a very economical perspective. So that's my intro. There's me, there's my VP of operations, really pushing hard to create trust in data and help scale compliance. There's a ton of tools out there. They just have never been put together in a package like this. So if you're interested in this, let's make compliance easy for you.
Awesome. Awesome. For those who want to ask a question, we usually do it based off of the React button under Zoom, and there's a raise hand. But if you want to just jump in, that's also okay. Happy to have, whatever, whoever wants to start it, kick it off.
This is Alex Hamilton with Craft.
Sure.
Hopefully you can hear me this time.
I think we can.
Okay. Customers, who are the end customers?
So our two customers right now are the financial institutions and the project developers. So we have a number of project developers in the nature-based side, biogas, BECCS, direct air capture, CDR. We can do renewable and wind as well, but the credit situation's there. But we focus on a SaaS model with the project developers and then a licensing model with financial institutions, so they can get access to the data and help facilitate the trade of the credits.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
I had a quick question. This is David Suarez from Lexington Capital. Alex, have you considered using insurance warranties to guarantee the credits on the back end?
The market's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. So there's a lot happening in the market, especially out of like Lloyd's and other areas that are looking at how do we create insurance for the asset and also the projects. The gap there is the data. There has not been high enough quality data to enable insurance underwriting at the scale that it needs to be. But that's one thing that we're really well aligned to supply. So we have some conversations in that area. Timing's a little early, but I think within the next like 12 to 18 months, it's going to start to become pretty mainstream.
Well, just so you know, we've done it.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
if you want to reach out, feel free to do that with capping oil wells. We've been able to get an insurance product to guarantee the number of credits.
Yeah, we got about 100,000 oil wells in Texas that we just had a discussion on yesterday. So
and we capped 2 of them so far, but I think we've got a big pipeline to keep going. So that's one of the investments we made. So if you want to follow up on that separately, I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, I think that would be great for a follow-up intro and discussion.
Awesome. Absolutely. We have time for one more question, but we can keep moving as well. So gonna give a 5-second grace period. All right.
Matt,
thank you so much, Matt. Thank you for the presentation. Oh, go for it. Brent, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, give you a chance, Matt. Maybe, since you mentioned there are a lot of other tools out there, maybe just at least for on the project development side, maybe you could give just another minute on kind of, what really differentiates you and kind of makes you stand out, you think, at least for the project developer customers.
Yeah, so the key point is the infrastructure. There's some other platforms like Digital MRV, if you're familiar with the term, that are focused on specific sectors. But what we're seeing is like, because of the way we do infrastructure, the digital signatures, the identities, everything like that, with GDPR, there's just so many other factors to compliance that set us apart, especially with like securely managing the data in a way that the project owns the data. We don't own the data. We just have tools to get it where it needs to go. So we're really highly differentiated in just how we manage data and how we get it to where it's going to be most useful. And with the banks we're talking to, they look at us as the de facto kind of clearinghouse for projects at this point. If a company wants to take their credits and bring it into a carbon ecosystem that is aligned with financial commodities and other things, which is where the market is going, we're going to be the data infrastructure that enables them to do that.
Thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. Feel free to leave your contact information
Yeah.
in the chat, and thank you for the presentation.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next up, we have Glimpse, and feel free to get going whenever you're ready to start sharing your screen.
Sounds great. Great to meet you, everyone. My name is Eric. I'm the CEO and one of the 3 co-founders of Glimpse. I will share my screen. Realize I picked up the PDF, but it should do the trick. There you go. 1 second. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Awesome. So our mission statement at Glimpse is to enable battery quality at scale. We come from Tesla, where we spent a few years in their battery manufacturing organization, and essentially we learned how big of an issue and big of a bottleneck battery quality is. And so we decided to start Glimpse a couple of years ago to essentially address this at scale and build a quality control technology that can be used to ensure the quality of batteries at scale. So our technology is powered by X-ray, which is a very standard way of looking inside batteries for to identify build defects. But in our case, we're primarily a software company, and we essentially have built a software layer that enables to run those X-ray machines much faster, and also extract as much information from those scans as possible. So here you have a couple of screenshots of our live product that our customers use every day. We have about 40 plus customers today. We work with some of the largest producers of batteries in the world and some of the largest buyers of battery in the world. And the buyers really want to control the quality of their incoming battery cells, make sure they can keep their supplier accountable, and also qualify that the cells are going to be not going to fail over the lifetime of the product that they're embedded in, right? So it could be an EV, it could be a spaceship, it could be an airplane, it could be a power tool, and so on. And so here on the left, you see a high resolution scan, X-ray scan of a cylindrical cell taken in 2 dimensions, and you can see those blue overlays. These are the results of our computer vision algorithms, and we take this data that we extract from the images, and then we plot those data points into charts. And this way we turn any scanner into a quality monitoring dashboard, which is an incredibly valuable tool for our customers. And historically, those X-ray scanners have been used as a lab instrument, but what we're enabling with our technology is bring them essentially on the factory floor to go from a couple scans per day to a couple thousand scans per day, where you can really capture a significant footprint of your build quality, whether you're a producer or a buyer. So the value proposition for our customers is, like I said, we can make those scanners run faster. So you'll always have a trade-off between image quality and scan time, right? If you want better image quality, you have to scan your part for longer. But what we allow is essentially a better trade-off, right? So we can get you much better image quality at the same scan time, or, which is what most of our customers want, is same image quality, but much shorter scan time. The second value proposition is each scan is, tens of gigabytes. And so if you scan, a few hundreds or a few thousands batteries per day, you're going to be completely overwhelmed with data. And so you need the right pipeline and infrastructure to process, store, and visualize that data. And then the last value proposition is, having the images is good, but you cannot have humans review 50 or 100 different features or quality metrics on scans that are produced every minute or every few seconds. And so we leverage computer vision to do that extraction automatically. And then, like I said, we turn any scanner into a high throughput sort of production quality monitoring tool. We support every cell form factor. And so, I'm sure you guys some of you at least are familiar with the different form factors that are used in the battery industry. You have cylindrical cell, prismatic cells, and pouch cells. Those are the three major ones. And in typical EV, you'll have between a few hundreds to a few thousands of those cells. So the way it works is, so you have the CT scanners, which are these X-ray machines. They produce a lot of raw data, and we take that data, we improve the image quality, we compress the data significantly, and then we take those images, we upload them to a web portal, and then we extract specific features from them. So yeah, we just raised our Series A a couple of months ago. And we're very proud of our investor base. We're proud of how quickly we went from C to A. So like I said, we're about 2 years old. Just a few days short of being 2 years old, actually. We have 40 plus customers, and the logos that you see on this slide is just the customer that allowed us to publicly disclose that we work with them, but there are many others, including some of the largest producers of battery cells in the world that are using our services and our software every day. We have two business models. The first one is a service-based business model where you send us the batteries, we'll scan them, we'll apply our technology to them, and then the user essentially will visualize those scans on their laptop through a secure environment, and we're incredibly cost effective. It takes about $1,000. You would be charged about $1,000 or a couple of $1,000 to do this at any sort of third-party scanning service, and we do it for $60 per scan, and that's because we can scan those parts extremely fast, so we can scan many parts per day, and then we also have the entire sort of software downstream processing fully automated, so we can save on a lot of manual labor. The second business model is we deploy our software at the customer, so they have this scanner. They do the scanning essentially, and we just provide them with the infrastructure to scan very quickly and extract many metrics from those scans. So on the second business model, it's more of a subscription-based business model. I think that might be it. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't know how much time I have. I can give a demo of our products, or we can stop there for questions.
How long is the demo?
I can make it in about 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. I think we have the time.
All right, sounds good. All right, so this is our public demo. You can sign up for it. It takes 5 seconds. We don't use your email for any marketing purposes, and it's a really good way to experience our product. So I talked about the different form factors, prismatic, pouch, and cylindrical. So I'll just pull up a cylindrical cell, and you'll see how quickly it loads. So this used to be 35 gigabytes, right? And this is loading our browser with a medium sort of Wi-Fi connection internet. And so I'll show you how it works. You have 2 dimensions in which you're looking at the cell. Here you're moving up and down the cell, and on the right you're rotating the cell on its main axis. So you're really consuming the full 3D information. And then we extract specific features within the volume of the cell. So without getting to the weeds, these are the colorful overlays that you can see are important metrics to track when you're a cell producer, right? And these are just examples. We have a lot of customers that ask us for a different feature. And it's really sort of whatever they want, we can extract from them. And then we created, thousands of data points per scan. So then we need to have a way to plot those. And so we have built those dashboards where you can track your production quality across metrics, across batches. And then let's say you see an outlier, you can click on it. And something we just released is, I think it's super cool, is you click on a data point and it'll pull up the slice or the cross section from which it was extracted. And very quickly, if you have a problem in your factory, you can identify it. And then if you want to do some root causing or sort of correlation analysis, you can also sort of run, compare metrics against each other and see if you have any correlation in there. So that's our demo in a nutshell. I will say we're starting to evaluate other verticals beyond batteries. So our technology, the principle can be applied to other types of objects. So we're thinking about medical device, consumer electronics, expensive valves, anything that's sort of produced at scale and has a high cost of quality. So if that sparks your imagination, please let me know and would be happy to discuss.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thanks.
David, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have more of a request really, Eric. Very, very interested in your service. We're financing a grid scale battery manufacturing facility in the US, and I think I'd like to introduce you to our manufacturing side. I'm more on the finance side, but as a potential customer.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few customers that are using our service that are in this specific segment of the industry. So we'd love to talk to the company in question.
And in line with the last comment I had before, you might want to consider potentially getting some insurance wrap on your service, and just to give you some credit rating behind what you're doing, that might help your customers and get you more sales. So just a thought.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's a good idea.
I have a question. Thanks, Eric, for the presentation, and congratulations on the Series A. So a couple of questions. One is the Series A fundraising that you guys did. What are you going to use it for? And then specifically for this group, is the fundraising round still open, or when is the next round of fundraising, as there are investors on this call that might be interested in potentially participating?
Yeah, so I'll ask you your first question first. We have about 3 or 4 very large customers that are very excited about our technology, and we're in advanced discussion with 3 of them, and it's going to take quite a bit of resources to do things like IT integration, contract negotiation, and so on. So I think the fund that we raised is really to help us make sure we can absorb that demand. And I think it's going to be painful in the beginning, but once you're in with those type of customers, and these are names that you guys hear every day. Once we're in, then it gets much easier because you don't have to negotiate contracts every time. You don't have to integrate with their IT infrastructure every time, and so you can just copy and paste what you've done and land and expand. So right now, this is the core focus of the company, is making sure we land those very large customers, and then we can use the next few years to expand within them. So the funding is basically, hiring the right folks on the sales, on the commercial, engineering side, IT side, and so on. Your second question is, the round is closed. Always open to talk about, investment opportunities. Obviously, we have a ton of momentum, so it is a good time for us to, talk to investors. We don't need the money. I think it's just a question of what would we do with more money if we had it. And so I'm always happy to brainstorm with folks.
Thanks.
Muzibo, you want to go right ahead?
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric. Interesting presentation. I was more interested and curious about what are the parameters that you can measure. Can you please send me some your deck and a little bit of description of what you do measure and analyze?
Yeah. So let me just pull up a random scan. We have off-the-shelf sort of algorithms that sort of works on most geometries, but in general, it's so funny because this never happens, and obviously it happens during a demo, right? That you have a scans that's not loading. So I was thinking this is very funny.
Don't worry, you can send me an email. That will be fine. Yeah.
No, I know. I was just gonna try to explain you with a visual support. So essentially, here you go. Overhang. Are you familiar with the internal design of a battery cells or not?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You are. Okay. So overhang is a very sort of one of the quote unquote most famous quality metrics you want to track for cells that have a metal can, the thickness of the can, and there's an indent to the can, and those sort of things. So we have a few of those off-the-shelf algorithms, but I will say most of the time it really is based on what the customer asks us, and we develop bespoke algorithm. We try to be very cost efficient, so we don't make margin on the algorithm themselves. So we just charge per engineering hours that it takes us. and then we recover our costs on the subscription, which is the access to this web application. So, which means I'm trying to answer your question by saying it's whatever the customer wants, and we don't, except for a few, I would say 3 to 5 common algorithm that we have developed that are pretty robust and generalizable. Most of the time, it's really bespoke, and it's based on what the customer wants to track. So hopefully, I'm answering your question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you very much. And one other question, last one, is applicable for any kind of chemistry, or you have
Yes.
focused on some specific one? Okay. Well,
No,
thank
no,
you.
chemistry is fairly easy. We scan some NFP, some sodium ions, some lithium ions. I will say though, the form factors, the bigger it is, the more challenging it is to scan. So if you think of, a blade cell from BYD or very large cells using stationary storage, these are more challenging to get good data out of. And so if you have worse image quality, that means you can extract less features.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. I think that's all the time we
sure.
have, but feel free to leave, any contact.
One last tip for Eric. I think, Eric, reach out to Paul Garcia. I think he's on the energy resilience side with the DoD. Sounds like he may be a really good. He may be a very good client, or introduce you to very good clients on the government side.
That sounds great. Do you mind dropping his name in the chat?
He's on the call.
That's
I'm
me.
so sorry.
That's me, but we don't get it to the component level, so it's
okay.
beyond us.
That's good.
Sorry.
All good. All
No
good.
worries.
Perfect.
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Eric.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Next up,
Bye.
next up we have Superseed. Feel free to start sharing your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna do that right now. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So we are Superseed. The picture you saw on the first slide is one of our manufacturing lines. We're a manufacturer based in Phoenix, Arizona right now. We're expanding into our second plant, which we'll talk about. And what we do at that plant is we make building materials derived from recycled plastics. Our goal is to make better performing materials, do it at a better price, and do it at a lesser impact to the environment. The current product that we're launching with and that we're displacing is plywood. It is the most ubiquitous use of wood-based materials that we're trying to offset. This started right at around the time of COVID when we were developing it, and the supply chain caused ridiculous spikes in prices. And now we're seeing similar trends right now with the tariffs. Wood typically is problematic, as water is the enemy. So it's going to warp, it's going to rot. And what we're seeing now, particularly as we're harvesting younger trees like the southern yellow pines that we're now forced in America to start harvesting more of, they're weaker. So they're loaded with more formaldehydes, more glues, more CCAs to hope to get them to perform just as well. And those harmful chemicals are terrible, particularly in living environments where we're off placing them. So our goal on the altruistic side of what we're doing is that there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean in the next 10 years. And we want to prevent some of this harvesting of old growth forests to effectively produce what is a lesser product. So how we do it and where our patents evolve around is, recycled plastics typically have a bad name. And what we've done is found a way to make them structural. So we developed the first structural alternative building rated material that is derived from recycled plastics. So we ingest plastics, add our formulations, do our testing, and then we put it through our next set of proprietary elements, which is the mold design itself. We developed a semi-hollow structure that is putting material where you need it, not putting it where you don't. And then finally, we developed machinery that enables us to do this at a very high capacity and a very high consistency, meaning it's always going to be square, it's always going to be smooth. And you're never going to have any of the issues that you currently have with wood, being that it's first inherently 100% waterproof. It's always square. There's no post-processing. There's no finishing. You're not filling edges. You're not gluing edges. And of course, at the end of its life cycle, it's fully recyclable, and all of our offcuts are recycled. We offer that for our customers today, particularly in the OEM space, the factory built house space. So this really offers a zero waste and a full circularity of their efforts. The markets are going after are pretty large. Right now, we're very core focused into an area where the value proposition resonates very highly, and that's OEMs in the boat, RV, and specialty vehicle manufacturing space. We're displacing a lot of wood and wood alternatives where we're just not seeing where alternatives to wood today are 3 or 4 times the price of typical wood, but just don't have all the characteristics. They're either not strong enough, don't have the fastener retention, you can't glue to it, and we've been eliminating those. So we're having a lot of success in there, which is why we're expanding. And then our ultimate goal is to get into construction. We're currently doing our first factory built homes for a high-rise apartment building. And we see a pathway to tackling that pretty large market structure itself. So this is our evolution of where we're going. We're starting with displacing marine grade plywood, typically a very high cost, slightly waterproof, but not really truly waterproof solution with a cost competitive material that is way stronger. Next, we're jumping into ICC. We've already gotten through our boards of approval for a structural rating. And then we've developed patents around decking and other formulations and other mold designs that enable us to displace other wood-based products, and we'll be doing that in our third leg of expansion. The reason we're able to do this and tackle companies in the lumber industry is because their footprint is just so massive between the logging operations and just the general size of the machinery required to make wood products at the lumber mills and at the finishing. It is labor intensive, energy intensive, and space consuming. We can produce the same amount of material in 1/100th of the space. We're also fully vertically integrated. We're able to completely manage our supply chain. And we're able to do this just in time because it's a 24-hour production where we're extruding very uniform, custom cut dimensions because our extrusion process enables it. So the companies that we started working with when we launched back in October are all major boat builders, the biggest boat builders in the United States. We're now working with the RV and specialty vehicle industry where they're seeing the exact same issues in terms of where the value proposition lies for us, displacing wood and also the costly alternatives to wood that exist. And so therefore we're expanding. So our current facility is here in Phoenix. We're doubling the size of this as we speak. And that line will be on in Q3. And then we're just making plans right now to grow into our second facility, which will have 6 extruders. And that's what that generally that layup looks like. So we pelletize in-house, we laminate, we post-treat for our ability to have this be adhered to using Corona treatment and other adhesion capabilities that we can add. We CNC cut, and everything again is all of our scrap is reground and used back into our formulation. So where our team sits here is we're all from either the manufacturing industries or the automotive industries, servicing a lot of OEM customers in our past. And so that is how we're scaling the business. So for us, it's been a pleasure working with Eagle Point and the DTEP Showcase because we're seeing direct parallels right now in the DoD, whether that be for shipbuilding, whether that be for basing. Our ability to produce very high tolerance, very high durability, cost-effective solutions to structural building materials has enabled us to justify expanding into a facility that produces 600,000 sheets a year and earn some significant market share where we currently sit. And that's it. That's Superseed.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sean.
Maybe I missed this, Sean. It's by the way, a great, really cool product that you guys have developed.
Thanks.
Maybe I missed this. What is the cost comparison for you guys compared to the different categories of wood that you guys are replacing? And then at least right now, what end up kind of being the margins?
So right now, if you look at marine grade plywood, that sells at retail for about $125 for a 1/2-inch 4x8 sheet MSRP. We are apples to apples with that. And at that rate, we're doing about 50% gross margin. In reality, we're selling to large OEMs that buy hundreds of thousands of sheets a year. So that price comes down about 30%. And we're still able to maintain about a 30% gross margin, 35% gross margin. As we get into construction, we're working on some formulations that enable us to do some light weighting. And our goal there is to compete with a $45 sheet plywood, which is typically where premium sheathing sits right now in today's market. That'll go up 5 to 10 points over the course of the next year or so, but we'll be really cost competitive there as well.
Quick question on my side. Does that financial model, does that include getting paid for the feedstock?
No, it doesn't. That is us actually paying for the feedstock. You bring up a good point, though. There are a great deal of new inbound. We've just, we launched in October. We've been getting some press. We've been in a lot of recycling journals, and we've been offered to take a lot of things off people's hands for free, especially municipalities. So that is not factored into that. If we are able to derive that feedstock, our margins go up significantly.
There's some models, just so you know, Sean, I'm sure you know, that where you actually get paid to take the feedstock on the plastic side.
Yeah, we are actively fishing for and fleshing out any of those relationships. We're constantly looking for that. That would be great.
Perfect. David, did you want to add anything?
I just feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to. I do a lot with municipalities, and dealing with waste is an issue across North America, as you know. So yeah, but I'd be happy to make introductions and maybe even finance some of the projects if that's something you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. I will look for your email here in the chat.
Nice. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Sean. Feel free to leave your contact information. If not, we'll connect you with David after the show. And
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we have Energy Audit.
Hey there, guys. Let me get my screen share going here.
Howdy.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Wanted to take a few minutes to walk you through Energy Audit and kind of what it entails. Looking forward to any Q&A we have here after the next 5 minutes. Energy Audit overall helps organizations measure energy consumption. We help them make better, more informed decisions, and we optimize their operations and spend. We really, truly want to help companies think about their energy footprint different. They obviously have compliance, spend, and other consumption patterns that they, frankly, don't have a lot of insight into. And we help make that complex analysis quite a bit more simple in nature. And that really is our goal. Year over year, as you guys are all business leaders, you're well aware that energy is significantly more expensive. It's gone up every year, and it's only going to become more so the case. And regulations and managing this footprint has just become harder and harder. So not only has the cost of the input to a lot of these businesses gone through the roof, but there's not very good tools or mechanisms or ways in which to more effectively manage that, especially if you're thinking about yourself as a small to medium, even large enterprises have problems with this, but they have more money to spend on it. But candidly, there's a challenge. Energy Audit brings an approach to this that allows us to bring more transparency vis-a-vis kind of a three-legged stool. We have the platform, we have our intellectual property in our sensors, and we pool all of this data together in order to make smarter and more intelligent decisions. Our platform looks something like this. This is actual images of our working platform. Happy to walk anybody through a demo in the future. But they gain insights from this, and we do our best to try and make these insights actionable intelligence to their business. When a business comes online during the day, they're obviously spending the bulk of their energy consumption needs, and they're spending money on this as a core factor of their business. But candidly, most of these folks don't have any understanding around what to do about it, where to optimize, how to optimize. When you think about spending, you think about the PDF bill that you get in the mail from a lot of these energy companies, and you kind of scratch your head and wonder why your energy costs are going up. This will tell you exactly why it's going up, the exact circuit that's being used within your building, all the way down to the individual switch that might be being flipped. So the actions are very granular, they're very exact, and it allows for a lot of automated insights and model building on top of that in order to gain further traction and optimize their spending in the business. This is kind of what it looks like. They talked about an intellectual property around kind of plugging into a business. We actually have sensors, these units you see in this picture on the left. These sensors are effectively capturing individual data usage at the most granular level with a 1 second interval. We're capturing over 100 million entries of this per day as it stands right now with our customers in our current book of business. We are using other factors as well to make sure that the models we train to help inform them of actions to be taken are hyper-specific to their environment. The environment does play a factor in how much energy they're using, and we make sure that we expose that information to them and use that as a historical set of data in order to optimize for future decisions. Our revenue model is based around a 3-phased approach. So when we sign a customer on, they enter into phase 1, it's platform, it's the platform access. Phase 2 is the deployment of sensors and getting the granular information in order to know where to change within their operation. And phase 3 is the data benchmarking itself. We do have aspirations to potentially monetize the data as an index or a benchmark in the future, but our current 2 pillars of our business are around the platform access and the sensor revenue. Our current contracts are primarily paying for platform access in that it's fairly fixed cost fee for our customers to work with Energy Audit. This is a little bit of a proof case of where we're going, at least on our initial focus. Right now, if you were to look even at the California market, it's only about 5% of overall spend for these types of customers. We're looking at high EUI industries. EUI is high square footage and energy intensity of consumption, which leads it to be around initially industrial manufacturing or hospitals. As you'll see on the next slide here, clearly there's an opportunity that's fairly large of over 277 million in contract opportunity. This is really just focused on the California market as it stands now. So the market is very, very large. Moving across the United States, there's a big opportunity to capture significantly more than this. And our current traction is sizable. We're currently at 1.3 million, almost 1.4 as of today, in contracts that are secured and signed. These annual contracts actually have a lifetime of over 8.75 years. So when we engage with a customer, we're signing on between 8 and 10-year long contracts with these individual enterprises. These, boil down to about $165,000 in ARR in our current state as we stand now. That is our run rate. And we have a sizable pipeline, as you can see on this slide, in the different industries at which we think are viable to us in our current state, with contracts that are in negotiations or engaged with. We expect to grow overall into the 3.3 million or so by the end of 2025, and then exponentially thereafter. This is the team of highly experienced folks who have run multiple enterprises in the past, along with the fact that they have worked in the energy optimization space prior. And we are currently have an open investment round. We have a couple negotiations ongoing with folks, and we are seeking an investment of 5 million or more of Series A. This really is a bridge just to kind of get us through into large profitability numbers. We might not even need Series B, frankly, with the traction that we're seeing. So the goal right now is to accelerate our movement as fast as we can in 2025, and try and capitalize on this market while it's available.
Sure.
Is there any questions?
Paul, go right ahead.
Sure. I would be very interested to know if you are working with any cybersecurity partners, because that's going to be the first thing stopping you from getting into an Air Force location.
We are not currently working with any cybersecurity partners. We are well aware that energy security is a footprint, and we've been investigating that. Part of the reason why we're here in the first place. It is of interest, but we are not working with a cybersecurity partner at the moment. Let me walk it back real quick. Are you talking about as in testing our equipment or working with them in a partnership?
Either one, because there is a division in Installation Energy that is responsible for all devices that get attached, and that's meters and sensors and things that you're relying on to make your system operate. I think the data is interesting to us, but out of the last 200 systems to try and come on base, only one has had a cybersecurity partner and gotten through 9 months of agony to be considered viable in sharing that data, even on a closed, wired network. So wireless, even worse. But that would be my primary suggestion: is look at the handful of cybersecurity partners the Air Force already works with and see how they can help you, cross that threshold.
Definitely a wise suggestion, and I will take that away from the conversation and take a look.
Thanks.
Sure. We have time for one more question if anyone has. Otherwise, I mean, I do have one question. What type of clients do you see most of, Jeff? As in, what's been like some of the winning areas that people are digging into this kind of technology?
Industrial and healthcare, frankly, are very, very ripe for the picking on this one. And you would think healthcare would have more security concerns vis-a-vis the last question asked, but candidly, they have very poor mechanisms to actually manage their energy footprint, and they need something. They're struggling.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's rough. And in terms of industrial, what are you seeing a lot of, if you're allowed to answer that, if you're able to answer that?
Well, our current contracts on industrial are about product manufacturing businesses. So like, for example, like metal finishing or something along those lines. Industrial complex type companies that consume a heavy load of energy would want to optimize, because they spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year on energy.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, anything with metal. Yeah, I'm sure they're spending away.
They are.
And just a last thing, just to follow up on Paul Garcia's comment, there's like a joke. What's the single largest consumer of energy in the world? The U.S. DoD. So it's not necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're doing it.
They are.
So, and within that, the Air Force, I think, takes the cake. So yeah, I mean, obviously we could talk more about that. But thank you so much for the presentation, Jeff. And yeah, feel free to leave your contact information in the chat for anyone else who has questions or wants to weigh in.
Definitely. We'll do so.
Yep. Perfect. Next up, we have Amsera, and presenting, it looks like Abhishek, under the name of Emery, is presenting.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Abhishek, and I'm using Emery's window to present Amsera. Emery is also with me, but I'll take the opportunity to present. Perfect. Thank you once again. So my background before I jump to Amsera, I have 15 years of experience in new energy, solar, lithium-ion batteries, and electric vehicles. I have built large utility scale solar farms for SoftBank. I have invested in global ride-hailing companies, including Uber, Didi, Ola. Then I have also been a part of India's largest EV company, Ola Electric. I was the 5th member, and by the time it IPO'd last year, we had 5,000 people, 1 million EVs on Indian road, and it got listed at $5 billion valuation. SoftBank also invested in Ola Electric. I was one of the investing team members. My career obviously started after studying in Stanford here, I moved to Singapore, which is another Southeast Asian country, where I worked with 2 large firms as scientist and engineer. So I've got this 15 years of global experience in majorly new energy, and working with large companies has also given me opportunity to navigate the entire startup landscape in the Western world. And today I'm presenting Amsera, which is trying to define the future of energy storage. So please allow me to share the slide and let me know if you can see the slides. I'm going to make them full screen. Could you help me make this full screen? Sorry guys, we'll start in 5 seconds. So yeah, assuming you can see the slides and you can hear me, I'll go ahead. So Amsera is an Arizona-based startup building the frontier of energy storage. We are focused on solid-state batteries. And again, I joined the company 1 year ago. I believe that America needs a new energy company at scale within a defined time frame. And I say time frame because we have a competitor, China, that can build infrastructure cheaper, faster, and better. So for solid-state batteries, we are solving science and engineering issues to launch our solid electrolytes so that we can accelerate the commercialization of solid-state batteries. So our vision is to empower lives with material solutions for next generation energy storage. We're an 8-year-old company. Our headquarters are in Milpitas, California, but a team of 30 engineers, scientists, physicists, including myself, BD guy, sit out of Tucson, Arizona. That's where our R&D center as well as manufacturing facility is present. We have Hanwha Solutions, South Korean conglomerate, as our prime investor, with strong support from DOE and ARPA-E, including 7 grants that the company has received in the last 8 years. And last but not least, we raised Series A approximately 2 years ago, and the total funding we have raised is $18 million. So this is the company introduction. We are into building the solid electrolytes for solid-state batteries. Essentially, the problem we are trying to solve is multifold, but I'll zoom in to 2 problems. If we go back 25 years ago, we had a great deployment starting for lithium-ion batteries. Prior to that, we used to do nickel metal hydride, nickel batteries, lead acid batteries. Then lithium came and there was a step change gain. Today we see EVs, our smartphones, as well as other applications, all deploying lithium-ion batteries. There are a couple of issues with this success. The first issue is one country in Asia, namely China, literally has conquered every aspect of lithium-ion energy storage, be it technology, supply chain, manufacturing, as well as cost. America will literally have to import, whether they do it from Japan, South Korea, China, or invite these players to set up bases within America. So that would happen. But supply chain remains the biggest challenge. The second aspect is the technology problem. EVs are trying to become great. They're good so far, but they're trying to become better. We have consumer electronics battle where the AI has taken over. The bottleneck still remains the storage, energy storage. So there is a significant demand for next generation batteries in consumer electronics world as well. And last but not least, we all talk about decarbonization of other industries, heavy industries, but there are sectors like electric aviation and shipping where the existing battery solutions cannot even produce the bare minimum viable product. So again, the basis for setting up the company 7 years, 8 years ago was to solve both the technology and supply chain problem that we had seen, back in the early days. The answer is, of course, solid state batteries. In the next 2-3 years, we're going to see another step change because of this technology shift. And as I mentioned, Amsara is accelerating the commercialization of solid state batteries by building strategic materials. This is our technology platform built in the last 7-8 years. The core technology, the core business thesis is materials. We develop and manufacture sulfide solid electrolytes, as you can see in the first box, left-hand side of this slide. We do this at scale today. These electrolytes go into the battery cell so that the battery cell can become better, high performance, high safety, fast charging. And when we bring this component innovation to the system level, there is a whole gamut of know-how of cell integration, of what other components need to be, what the supply chain needs to be, cell specification. That's mentioned in the second box. This is the cell integration expertise which the company has built. Of course, battery cell, we do make prototypes. We do not intend to manufacture cells at scale, but we make prototypes to further optimize our material to deliver the best performance, safety, or other aspects in the system, which is the cell. And last but not least, we have built scaled manufacturing. So in Tucson, we are capable of making the material up to 1 tons per annum. This entire technology platform is underpinned by 50 patents and more than 100 trade secrets. They cover material science to cell designs to manufacturing. So this is our tech platform. We again make materials. Speaking about materials, on the left-hand side of this slide is shown our history. Our materials, the baseline versions of these materials are sold in the open marketplace. The company has taken a different approach. Instead of keeping everything confidential, we sell our materials in the open marketplace, and literally every automotive company, cell manufacturing company, and even consumer electronic company purchase these materials for their internal R&D. This work has helped the company generate revenues for the last 5 years, $1 million to $2 million per annum. And more importantly, we understand the feedback from hundreds of these customers every year, which has helped the company build more strategic materials, which are shown on the right-hand side. These are very advanced strategic materials, which we can tweak as per the customer requirements. And these are the materials we provide in a closed joint development agreement setup. So we work with specific companies and we deliver the materials that are mentioned on the right-hand side only to those customers. Again, all these materials are solid materials because our motto is to replace the liquid in the battery in your garage EV or in your pocket consumer electronic device. We have to replace liquid with solid. So the entire platform is a solid. We do not use gel or any semi-solid. In addition to the technology part, we address the manufacturing also. We have worked on our manufacturing plant with the support of the government as well as our lead investor Hanwha and another Korean automotive company. We have done the detailed cost analysis during the testing and validation phase. And the message from this slide is that the next frontier of energy storage, which is a solid state battery, when it gets commercialized in 2027 to 2028, and eventually gets scaled in 2030, the cost structure would be less than $100 on a kilowatt hour basis. So this is similar to the existing lithium-ion battery that you have in your pocket or you have in your EV. Obviously, the lithium-ion battery is also innovating and the cost is declining. So of course, this $100, we have to go further lower. However, with the set of our technologies, our manufacturing processes, and through vertical integration, this is the cost estimate, very competitive with the existing industry that a bunch of our partners and Amsara have come out to get this number. So this is manufacturing costing.
30-second warning.
Sorry?
30-second warning.
Yeah, this is our business model. As I mentioned, we sell the electrolytes and we also provide the entire technology, the information package, which has the know-how. How we are different than other companies? The best technology will not win. It has to be added with scaled manufacturing, robust supply chain, and right cost structure. So we are building the entire full stack cell solution. And our partners are not just our downstream electric vehicle or big tech consumer electronic companies, but we also have strategic partners, all tier one in upstream and midstream. Last but not least, this year we are building with the help of our EV partner in America, tier one, the largest EV company. We're building a prototype car which would have our batteries in it. And in a similar fashion, with a big tech company who is our customer in Bay Area, we're going to build the battery pack which will be integrated into the device, the consumer electronic device that the company intends to launch in Q1 of 2027. So to accelerate these partnerships, Amsara also needs to invest in the infrastructure. And for that, we are raising $10 million in, you can say, pre-Series B or A plus or convertible note in the next 6 months. But the prime purpose is to accelerate these commercial partnerships and deliver the milestone as set by these companies in 2025. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I'm happy to go first if people are getting warmed up. But so in terms of in terms of solid state, what's the timeline looking like in terms of I think you had it on a slide, but what's the timeline looking until you like hit full solid state? Or is that something you're allowed to discuss?
Our two partners based out of America, they've given us a timeline of 2028 Q1. So
Sure.
3 to 4 years from now. Of course, these are the partners. They are outliers in the EV industry. So the general EV industry would take long time to embrace solid state batteries, could be 2030. But these are the two partners that have given a stringent timelines of 2028. So we need to expedite the product development to meet EV requirements in 2028. For consumer electronics, the big tech company is launching their product in Q1 of 2026, which is 1 year from now. So the timeline for consumer electronics would be relatively shorter than the EV.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll give a gap for anyone who wants to ask a question in the interim. David, go right ahead.
Just a quick point. Are you using research and development ITCs to fund your business at all?
I did not get your question.
Are you qualifying some of your expenditure as research and development and getting investment tax credits from the federal government at all?
We would do it down the line. Our priority right now is to work with these two EV companies and the big tech company to qualify our technology so that they can be implemented in the applications until 2026 or 2027. When it comes to tax credits, we would do it after 2027 when we build an industrial commercial facility. Our facility right now is not a scaled commercial facility. It's called a pilot facility, 1 tons, which is sufficient to deliver the entire qualification for big tech as well as EV. However,
it's more of an accounting question than anything else. You can go back 3 years on all the R&D that you've done, and the tax, you can get tax credits as cash. So you should look into that. It sounds like you haven't done it. So if I was you, I would look into it, and I would do it rather quickly.
Yeah, we don't think we have done tax credits.
Yeah, you should look into it. It seems to me a large part of your business is R&D. Does that sound right?
Yeah, so we did spend, of course, most of our 8 years were in R&D. Now we are very customer centric, but it's a product that has come out of the R&D.
Yeah. You can go back 3 years anyway, but you should look into that.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And I think, okay, Muzul, go ahead. You're the last question.
Hi, Abhishek. Nice to hear you again.
Nice
So
to
I have a question. I mean, I heard you present earlier, a few months earlier, So what changes have happened?
The changes that have happened, we are only focused on delivering customer requirements. I would say partner requirements, strategic partner requirements. The two EV companies. So one is EV company, one is cell company, and the big tech. What has changed since the time we met last? We have acquired this consumer electronic company. It's a big tech company. You all know they are going to launch new product in Q1 2026 and then Q1 2027. So we have to deliver the products for them. We are also going to start working with a US defense company. The company delivers drones to Department of Defense. They're the largest providers. They're again based out of California. So that work would start later this year because we have some milestones to meet for EV and consumer electronic company. So what has happened is we are past R&D. We're not building labs and stuff. We will do product development, we will do technology development, but it would be only with our customers. This is what the bandwidth currently allows, and this is the right direction.
So just to follow up, so what you are saying, if I understood correctly, that you are no longer just only doing electrolyte, but you are making the full cell for your customers. Am I correct?
The full cell for my customer, specifically consumer electronics, is through our dedicated cell partner, because cell requires a lot of engineering, and in America, nobody has that expertise. So in Taiwan, we have our dedicated cell partner. We make small cells, 1 amp hour to 2 amp hour cells in-house. But when it comes to bigger cells and that rapid prototyping, we have to work with the Asian company, which we have qualified for that big tech also. So there is a three-way partnership when it comes to this rapid prototyping. So we do make cells, but they're small prototype cells. Our business model is not doing cell manufacturing. We cannot do that in America. We will channel we'll channel all our resources in materials, and we'll provide not only materials, but also the entire integration expertise.
Good luck. I mean, we really want your success to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abhishek and Emery. I think that's all the time we have. Make sure to leave some contact information in the chat so people can reach out. And yeah, thank you again for presenting. Next up, we're going to have TerraFusion. Feel free to start sharing whenever you're ready.
Yes. Thank you very much. Let me share my slides now. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm Carlos Romero Talamas. I'm the CEO and founder of TerraFusion, a company dedicated to provide energy from fusion to the grid as soon as possible. And very importantly, with simple engineering compared to our competitors. So perhaps some of you have heard of fusion energy and what is the big deal of fusion energy? There are many, many advantages. Some of which is that the energy density is enormous. It's millions of times more than fossil fuel. So with a tiny amount of fuel, you can provide large cities for the entire year. It doesn't have any carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxides, etc. No soot particulates. There's no greenhouse gas waste or smog that comes out of this. It is a nuclear energy, but it's the opposite of fission, which is what we have today in commercial reactors. Fusion involves using lighter particles and pushing lighter particles, fusing them. And so there is some amount of radioactivity, but it's much, much easier to handle. I'm talking about orders of magnitude less and much less activation of material. So waste is much easier to handle. Think of years to decades instead of thousands of years. And the fuel is abundant everywhere. Literally from seawater, you can get all the fuel that you need in the form of heavy water, which occurs naturally, and lithium, which is in batteries, as we've heard recently. Very importantly, there's many ways to get to fusion energy, at least many concepts that have been proposed and are being investigated. Ours is, I will contend, the simplest steady state concept and the simplest and cheapest of all of our competitors right now. And we can get to net energy gain, which is a milestone that no one has demonstrated in reality in any kind of fusion system. And we're planning to get there, and we estimate we'll be able to do it 10 times cheaper than what other of our colleagues and competitors estimate. So what is our machine? Our machine is what's called a rotating magnetic mirror. And what that means is we trap the reactants, which are isotopes of hydrogen that are trapped here because we heat them up to such high temperatures, about 10 times hotter than the center of the sun. They stay trapped here. They bounce back and forth inside the magnetic field. We heat it up, again, to the required temperatures, hold it there for long enough, and fusion starts within a fraction of a second. And then we can hold it there indefinitely, and we can provide megawatts of power that way. Compared to our competitors, we don't require anything other than a high voltage power supply. Very high voltage, that's perhaps a caveat, but our competitors will have what's called neutral beams and radio frequency antennas, which we don't require. And it also requires less magnets, since the magnetic field is the pressure cooker, if you will, a magnetic bottle, so to speak. We require a lot less magnets, very simple system compared to our competitors. We have a prototype that has been funded by ARPA-E at the laboratory at the University of Maryland, College Park. I'm not just a CEO and founder of TerraFusion, but I'm also a professor at UMBC, which is a campus part of the University of Maryland. I'm also a researcher on the campus at College Park, where the machine is located. And this is the first superconducting centrifugal mirror demonstration. And we actually produce small amounts of fusion in the laboratory. And we keep it small because going to a higher level will require a much more expense in terms of safety for the materials and the radiation that we will cause. So we keep it low so we can keep it simple as well and low cost within the budget that we have. That budget is about $5 million. And we are now, we spun out the company based on the experimental results. The theory has been around for decades, developed at the University of Maryland and other places. But we only last year and even this week, we're running the machine and demonstrating experimentally how it works and that it works. And that's why we're spinning out the company, because we have actual proof. Now, developing these machines is not cheap. We estimate we're able to do it to demonstrate net energy, to have a prototype for about $100 million. In fact, our competitors and people in this space think we're too cheap, that they don't believe we can get there with this amount. I'm confident we can, because we're also building a microreactor size machine. Because of the physics and the engineering that goes into this machine, we don't require a lot of investment. And like I mentioned, the so-called auxiliary heating, radio frequency antennas, neutral beams, etc. And so we can do it in a much more compact system in the microreactor space, megawatts, instead of hundreds of megawatts that others require. A costing analysis sponsored by ARPA-E, by an independent group, determined that we will be competitive once we get to a 10th of a kind, to a 50th of a kind. We'll be competitive in the energy space, which is, of course, very encouraging. We've formed the company. We've finished the first prototype machine, which is what you saw in the pictures. And now we're raising the seed, $4 million, to be able to complete the engineering design. And then we'll raise a Series A to place purchase orders and actually complete the prototype and run it. We expect to be able to complete that before 2030. And we've already identified suppliers of all the critical subsystems. In fact, some of those companies are new as well, but including, magnets, high voltage power supplies, etc. We've also been in communication with power companies, including Constellation, Dominion, and Exelon. The latter two have visited the laboratory at the university. If you have questions, please let me know. I just want to point out this happened last week at the ARPA Energy Summit, Energy Innovation Summit. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright wanted to visit our booth, and so we were asked to be there early, one of only 4 booths, because he's interested in fusion energy. So we expect more support from the federal government in this technology, which is of course very encouraging. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Sure. Thank you so much, Romeo. Muzabil, go right ahead.
Professor Talamas, congratulations. This is really exciting.
Thank you.
Could you please help me understand? You have got leading candidates like Tokamak or Stellar Reactor. So how do you compare? Because they are already claiming that commercialization in a couple of years, where you are going to be a little bit down the road. What type of challenges do you face? I mean, the magnet procurement, or who is going to supply you with magnets, or the same challenges that they have in those areas?
I actually know yes, there's some shared challenges, mainly with respect to the so-called blanket, which is what absorbs the products of the nuclear fusion, which are neutrons. You want to slow them down, capture them, and so on. Those are shared challenges, and we've identified a company that is specifically developing the blanket. We have some of the expertise in terms of nuclear physics, of course, at the university, and some of my students are joining the company. But the magnets, for example, you mentioned tokamaks. Our magnets are simple circular magnets. Tokamaks have to be D-shaped. It's actually not trivial. The forces when you energize those magnets, the mechanical forces are pretty high, and it's not trivial to make them large enough. We can also make them. Our magnetic fields are not as strong as what tokamaks require, and so that makes them also a lot cheaper. So the cost goes with the square root of the magnetic field, more or less, over the volume. And so if we make them more compact and lower field, they become much cheaper. And very importantly, we don't require the newest rare earth superconducting tape. We can use the well-established low-temperature superconductors or the high-temperature one, but we can use the cheapest one. And that's actually what we're working on. In fact, literally, right before this call, I was communicating with one of the companies that may make the magnets for us, and they want to make a small demonstration prototype that we'll use in the laboratory before we make the bigger ones for the 5 megawatt system that we're building now.
So your target for Q greater than 1 or Q equal 1 is in 3 years, 5 years?
In less than 5 years, that's correct. We believe that's doable and realistic, including within the budget that I showed.
Yeah, love to talk to you. Very exciting. Thank you.
Yes, please let me know anytime.
Paul, go right ahead.
Sure, you answered one of my questions. You said 5 megawatt system. So I was going to ask what output you were expecting. And the second question was, what are you doing to deliver electricity? So are you heating water and turning a turbine? Or are you having direct electrical output? Or what is your form of electricity generated?
So initially, we'll keep it as simple as possible. The minimal viable system will be just to heat up, put the blanket. It will be a liquid metal blanket that will circulate through a heat exchanger, heat up water, move a turbine, etc. In fact, those relatively small turbines already exist to generate, and the generators already exist. So we plan to use the balance of plant off the shelf as much as possible. In future iterations, this is an area of active research, including in our group at the university, in converting the nuclear products directly to electricity is possible, but it's a lot more challenging. And so we want to get to, again, to demonstrate the viability of fusion, but then eventually through a heat engine. But then eventually we want to do it through a direct conversion system.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for the presentation. That's all the time we have. Feel free to leave your contact information. It looks like there's some folks. There's even a question in the chat for you. Someone wanted to know about the temperatures and the chamber and stuff. So feel free to answer that when you have a second. And thank you so much for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Absolutely. With that, we end session 1. Yeah, so we're ending session 1 and we're now moving on to session 2. What we can do for session 2 is I think we have time for very quick introductions from the panel, if that's okay with all the panelists who have just joined or are staying on. So what I'll do is I'm going to read the name, and then if you could just, say a quick hello, who you are and where you work for, and nothing more, that'd be great. Sorry, we're short on time, but I still want to do it if possible. So I'm going to get started. Mark, you've been on here for a while, and I apologize I didn't introduce you at the last session. Feel free to, quickly introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Mark Breka. I'm the president of the Chemical Angel Network, and we invest in materials measurement and manufacturing. And some of the companies in the first session were pretty interesting, and hopefully we'll get them to apply.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. Kathleen, you're next.
Hi, I'm Kathleen German with Dow Ventures. We're a chemical company. We tend to focus on materials and chemistry, and actually we're part of the Chemical and Angels Network as well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Next up is Suresh.
Good morning, good afternoon. Suresh Sundarbabu. I lead Swan Impact Angel Network out of Austin, Texas. We invest in clean tech, life sciences, and other impact-driven startups. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining. Next up, we have Carolina.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Carolina. We are a venture capital fund called Starbeam Capital based in London, and we invest in hardware solutions in the energy space and industrial sectors.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Ariel Heyer.
Hi, everyone. Ariel Heyer, Clean Energy Ventures. We're an early stage venture firm focused on deep tech with the potential to reduce multi-gigaton carbon dioxide emissions within 30 years. Pretty much tech agnostic as long as you can reduce those carbon emissions. So glad to be here. Thanks.
Happy to have you. Sarah Jones.
Hi, Sarah Jones. I'm an investor with InQtel. We partner with more than 20 government agencies and invest in emerging technologies across a number of areas, including power and energy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining, Sarah. I think I cut out for a second, but thank you. Muzabul, go right ahead. Muzabul Khan? Maybe he hopped off. Okay, I think he hopped off. That's fine. Next up, Paul, you want to quickly reintroduce yourself?
I'm Paul Garcia from Booz Allen with the Air Force Office of Energy Assurance. We work on utility-connected power, water, gas for all of our 200 bases around the world, and energy resilience is what we're working for.
Absolutely. And then I think that's it for now. We'll get going. But thank you to all the panelists. I think I'm glitching out a little bit, everyone. So I apologize. But thank you for the panelists who are joining. And so with that, we're going to get started with the presentations. And to kick us off, I believe we have EVtronics or Falcon Green Energy. Feel free to start sharing your slides whenever you're ready to go.
Okay. Right. Okay, second here.
Sure.
Dan can hopefully we'll get his video back on shortly. Okay, I am Paz Reinstein, VP of Falcon Green Energy, and Dan Vogler is on the call as well. He'll chime in the second half. I'm going to make the initial presentation. Today we're presenting on the Microgrid Energy Hub. This is something that we have recently submitted as a DOE proposal, and we think this is a very potentially impactful product that we are pursuing on multiple fronts. The Energy Hub is a new class of distribution transformer that will help to integrate diverse renewable energy sources, provide backup power, and significantly improve the level of service to the end user and improve the resilience of the upstream grid. With brownouts and blackouts, especially here in Texas, occurring on a regular basis, the microgrid energy hub can serve a critical role in keeping power stable and secure. The MEH will provide near perfect power quality with using AC to DC to AC continuous conversion and allow for a seamless switchover in the case of power interruption, protecting consumers from serious adverse consequences such as the interruption of medical services, damage to equipment, or loss of communications. Oops, sorry. By incorporating the renewable energy integration, by incorporating the full range of energy sources, either DC or frequentized synchronized AC, the microgrid energy hub will provide significant benefits for new developments, neighborhoods, and homeowners by harnessing diverse energy inputs such as solar, geothermal, tidal, wind, and battery energy storage systems. The MEH will enhance energy resilience and allow customers to lower their energy bills. In addition to improving power quality and stability for the end user, the MEH will contribute to the stability of the grid by allowing energy stored in backup systems, EV batteries, or other renewable sources to be used to stabilize the grid at moments of peak load. We're also submitting on an EV-related grid project at this time. Its distribution transformers are one of the most common pieces of equipment in the entire electric grid, a huge market opportunity, $24.9 billion in 2029. We're asking for $1.5 million in a convertible note or SAFE agreement to create our initial set of working prototypes for testing and certification. This is Dan's picture. This is our team. Dan, the CEO, myself, and John Shanahan, a seasoned pro in the energy area, and David Garcia and Anil Patney in the remaining areas. And with that, I'm going to leave the slide up, but I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Are you with us, Dan?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My video is off, though.
The video's
the
off.
host says.
Asher, if you can turn his video back on, but either way.
There we go. So in a nutshell, the microgrid energy hub is like a giant uninterruptible power supply for the customer premise. And the business opportunity is the distribution transformer exists at every customer site. Every place where there's an electric meter, there's also a distribution transformer. And this technology has not changed for some 80 years now. Adding some sophisticated electronics, we can deal with AC and DC sources of energy, and we can output AC and DC. So this accommodates the changes that are going on in the energy space now, whether it's solar, wind, or maybe fusion might be another source. So if there's any questions from the audience, I can try to address that now. I envision as we perfect this product and go through some testing and certification that I already have an exit in mind for this company and product, that it's quite likely that one of the large energy infrastructure companies, be it ABB out of Switzerland, Siemens out of Germany, General Electric, Eaton out of the United States, companies that make distribution transformers now are going to see the value of this. And I think that we're going to be an acquisition candidate as they put it into their distribution channel. And the centerpiece of this is there's a battery inside the transformer. So when the grid goes down, the battery continues to supply energy to the customer premise, be it a residence or a commercial building, for some period of time while the utility comes back on. we also have the ability to aggregate and virtualize the microgrid energy hub. So there may be a whole neighborhood or zip code with these devices in it that can then be pooled together. So the battery in the system can go to create ancillary battery services that serve the grid. So it could be a revenue source for the utility and even the customer as that hub that brings all of the energy supply and loads together at a single point in the customer premise.
Sure. Dan, there's a question in the chat. Is your
Okay.
technology, is the microgrid hardened against EMPs or GMDs?
Yes, it would be that there's a tremendous amount of shielding inside the box, really with no ingress to the atmosphere. So that has been a concern that a EMP might wipe out some portion of the grid, and there's predictions that replacing all of these transformers may take years. So it is hardened against external events.
What is your timeline for the development of and commercialization of the product?
I think we'll have a demonstratable prototype going through testing and certification by the end of this year.
And after that, how will you be scaling it? Who's your who will you be selling it to? Is it like developers or licensing it out? Well, what's the strategy?
The customer for this are the electric utilities. So I'm already in discussion with the venture arm of Siemens that wants to see it when it's done. But any large electric infrastructure company, I believe we could get an audience with, because the distribution transformer, again, is the number one piece of hardware that utilities have to buy. So the market size of this is huge, and this represents a significant change of a typical oil-filled primary, secondary distribution transformer, adding a tremendous amount of more sophistication and potential revenue for the utility.
So sorry, I don't know if anyone's got any other question, but so you're gonna license it out to Siemens, or you're gonna manufacture it somewhere and then sell it to Siemens, for example?
I don't know how that's going to play out. It's a little too early to say.
Yeah, that's fine.
Too early to say whether, you know, and here in Austin, Texas, where we're based, there's a lot of manufacturing that's evolving here in Austin. That Tesla has the largest plant in the world here in Austin, making cars and batteries and elements of the electric grid within Tesla Energy. So there's a lot of resources here. We also have the support of the University of Texas Balcones Research Center, and that's not in the slide presentation, but we've also developed a new form of winding in the transformer that we can squeeze another 3% efficiency out of the transformer. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but over the 40-year life of the transformer, that 3% adds up to many tens of thousands of dollars and justifies the investment in this hardware. So there's really a dozen different pieces of significant intellectual property that are all come together in this single product, the Microgrid Energy Hub.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paz and Dan. And, you know, if anyone has any other questions, I'm sure happy to. Yeah, thank you, Paz. You already put your contact information into the chat. So thank you so much for the presentation. And we really appreciate it.
We have a larger slide deck that's more suited. It was too long for the showcase here, but more suited for investor types, and Paz can provide that to you in the more detailed slide deck that we have.
And if you want, I could send it out through an Airtable also to the participants so that everyone can get it who's on the call, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Asher.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Next up, we have GS Vortex, and presenting for GS Vortex should be Avi.
Hey, hi there. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Wow, great. Technology working. All right, hello everybody. I'm going to fly through this pretty fast because I think I have too many slides, but sit back and enjoy. So our focus here is on improving fluid flow, and that can cut energy consumption significantly by improving flow efficiency. We all know and recognize the tremendous increases in energy demand continue more or less unabated. And a lot of these are from moving huge amounts of fluids in daily operations. And in terms of GHGs, they're coming from some major contributors that we're all well aware of. So I'm focusing on efficiencies in moving fluids. The key thing for change, though, is that delivering change requires business benefits as well as environmental gains. And usually they're going to be led by cost savings, reductions in project capital, OPEX savings, and higher productivity, if possible, from our existing base. So I'm glad to hear some people here are interested in hardware, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. Our solution to the costs of fluid flow are a particular type of device called the GS Vortex Flow Amplifier. This saves 30% in energy flow costs, reduces operating costs. It can improve and increase flow rates in existing lines by over 45%, and that's without increasing line pressure, which is a critical factor. It can quickly debottleneck pipeline systems, increase the productivity of your infrastructure, and deliver permanent emissions reductions all at once. This is what the device looks like, and critically, it has no moving parts. It consumes no energy, and it requires no maintenance. It's plug and play, walk away with a permanent improvement in your flow system. Here we see an image of one attached to an existing flow line. So for existing lines, this can be retrofitted easily. And for new builds, it can result in lower CapEx and OPEX for new installation, and really support project economics, particularly through energy savings compounding. We've made a start applying it to agriculture, and particularly in pivot irrigation, where it reduces pumping costs significantly, and particularly for pivot operations, because the lion's share of revenue is coming from the largest diameters of the field. It is increasing yields, which quickly results in payback for the operators. So farmers don't really believe much that you tell them, but when you save them money and increase their yields, you have their attention. And that's the stage we're at now. In pivot irrigation, there is now a multi-billion-dollar market that this opens up through retrofit to existing pivots. Looking at NPV 11, we're seeing around a $45 million potential. Even NPV 30 over 5 years is looking very good at about $23 million. We are targeting larger operators. We've had 1 year of testing in 24. We're currently active in this present irrigation season. And we want to move on from there to midstream water transfer, which is a gigantic problem for Permian and other basins. There are millions of barrels of water that need to be moved. They used to be just re-injected, but now they're causing earthquakes. So all of a sudden, the cost structure of the midstream oil industry is hurting. And that's another area where Vortex can quickly support increased movement of that water out to other areas, or indeed to treatment systems and plant. Our model is to license these technologies and to OEMs and others, and which would allow us to move on to the many other areas that Vortex can be applied in. So We develop the products, we validate them, we make direct sales and establish the market, and then we want to interest others in licensing, distribution, pulling in the capital available from other people, letting everybody benefit from the deployment of the product as rapidly as possible. And we see the potential of Vortex in a very, very wide range of markets. Pumping, we also have rotating Vortex products. We see a wide range of possibilities. The other aspect is that this is applicable at many, many scales. And in the center of that matrix, you see medical, because this can be applied not only to giant pipes, it can also be applied at the level of arteries and veins. So we see tremendous potential. We want to get on with it, and that's partly what the licensing model allows us to do. So in 2025, we're currently well funded. We've got about 18 months of runway. We're going to be doing a 3 million raise this year. In this year, we'll need to sell about 200 of the pivot units to break even and be cash flow neutral this year. As I mentioned, we're developing this for midstream water. Next, we'll be moving into hydrocarbon transport, and we'll be developing products using new materials as appropriate to the industries they're deployed in. The background of myself is in the oil and gas industry. Paul Schmidt spent 40 years in mining, and we're well supported in finance, marketing, and also on strategy. We're founded in 2019. We have over 40 US patents and multiple international patents. We've seen good sales growth over the last 3 years, but obviously from a small base. We bring a lot of value to the table, and we're already working with important, well-recognized customers. So thank you. And Vortex is the new flow standard. Please let me hear your questions. Hey, Asher, how did I do on time?
You did great. I loved it. Mark, it looks like you have a question.
Yeah, I do. How does creating a vortex not pull energy and actually make it lower energy for your flow path?
Okay, so the benefits of flow rotation for reducing inline drag were spotted by academics 60 years ago. But the problem they observed is that the rotation decays very rapidly left to its own devices within about 5 to 7 pipe diameters. So this device is quite extraordinary in that the 8-inch device that I showed you a cutaway of, if that has fluid flowing through it at 1,000 plus GPM, the rotation projection distance is 6,200 feet. It's about 1.8 kilometers. So the overall net benefit from the rotation is to reduce flowing drag.
Okay, and
I
your
hope I
IP
answered your question. I'm sorry?
and your intellectual property?
40 plus US patents and multiple international patents. For the static device, and also for what I mentioned, which is we've taken that static device and we've turned it into a rotating device, but I don't want to dwell on that right now, but that's also part of where we will be going in due course.
Can you walk us through the unit economics?
Well, I can tell you,
customer.
I'm sorry, Sarah, please repeat. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm just trying to understand the magnitude of cost and how much of a customer would typically order.
Okay, yes, let me talk you through that. So you're a customer, you're going to buy an IKEA flat pack table from me. You're going to pay $12,500 ex my dock. You are then going to transport it at your cost to your farm, and being a clever farmer, you're going to install this in the pivot yourself, or you're going to find somebody who can, because this is pretty basic technology. You're going to take out the existing riser and swap it out with the Vortex unit. And from that 12,500, I'm going to get enough of a margin to keep me in business and break even with 200 units. And that's, I'm just focusing on this relatively simple product because other products in the flow world require quite a lot of diagnosis. There are no two bits of buried pipe that are the same. And that takes time and that's expensive. We are talking to water utilities and so on, but all these problems are diverse and require much heavier lift to solve them. This is a very tidy solution, which can be retrofitted very simply to the 250,000 North American pivots and quickly generate revenue for us. So that's why this is a focus area. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I heard 12,500 for 1 unit or 200 units.
Yes, ma'am. 12.5 for 1 unit.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Has there been done any cost benefit calculations? Because I'm guessing, well, for new ones it's one thing, but when you have to replace the existing one, there will be a cost not only of the unit but also of works for the utilities to replace whatever there is they have in place at the moment. Is that gonna how much can they benefit from that replacement versus how much they have to spend on installation?
Okay, Carolina. So if I understand your question, I'm a utility. I've got diverse problems all over the place, but I want to increase the productivity of my lines. Maybe I'm bottlenecked somewhere and I can't flow enough. It's really very, very simple. You just cut and paste Vortex units at engineered locations into your line. And you will immediately see, well, it depends whether you want to see an energy saving, that may be important, but more likely is you want to see a productivity improvement in your flow system. So the biggest issues utilities might have is, oh no, I'm going to have to dig up umpteen streets. And really that's where the biggest cost comes in fixing lines and pipes. So the cut and paste aspect of dropping in a Vortex amplifier anywhere in a utility pipeline system is frankly trivial. And it doesn't, there are no adverse aspects whatsoever. I hope I understood your question. There may be more to it.
No, so it's gonna be overground, the Vortex.
It can be overground, underground, wherever your line is. We're just going to dig down, find your line and cut and paste, cover up the hole and walk away.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Avi. It was a great presentation. And feel free to leave your contact information in the chat. And I'm sure people have more questions. It seems like there are quite a few.
Of course. Thank you so much, Asher. Take care.
Absolutely. Next up, I believe we have Lith2O. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes.
Feel free to start sharing, Adam, whenever you're ready to go.
Okay. Thank you, Asher. Nice to meet everyone. I actually did not even know I was invited to this until about 20 minutes ago. So, and I've never actually, I don't come from your world on this call, most of you. So I've never actually given a pitch like this. So please, all these other expert pitchers, if you just give me the benefit of the doubt, that would be terrific. So my name's Adam Pector. I'm actually calling you in from Princeton, New Jersey, where I'm based. Just to get started, I'm a defense contractor, totally not in the technology space. My firm builds networks of key leaders in places like Syria, Iraq, Yemen for the US and UK militaries. We use them for a variety of activities. But I've always had an interest in energy because the military has been using my firm to push back against great power adversaries, particularly China. And I was reading back in May, many of you may have seen this, but the University of Pittsburgh released a study back in May that said that there's so much lithium in the produced water from fracking that if you could harness the lithium in the produced water from central Pennsylvania alone, you'd be able to meet 40% of the lithium needs of the United States. So this really caught my attention because, I mean, for a variety of reasons, not only because we were struggling with China with lithium and other critical minerals, but also, it was very ironic to me, here the environmental community is very against fracking, really wants electric vehicles, and yet maybe one of the keys out of this thing is to harness the lithium from the water from fracking and other kinds of brine. So I ended up just doing some research on my own, and I came across a group in central Pennsylvania who had been on the forefront of extracting minerals from produced water from fracking, and had actually done a pilot study with a Swiss company a year and a half ago, which yielded 97% raw lithium carbonate from the produced water. What I did is I got in touch with this group, put them together, and then I coupled them with a woman who maybe many of you may know. Her name is Dr. Ellen Wald. She's a top energy expert at the Atlantic Council, and she wrote a book that maybe you've seen on Saudi Aramco, has been writing a lot about lithium. And we put this group together, and we christened the group LiF2O, Li like the on the periodic table, and H2O as the water. And this is a PowerPoint we have not presented to industry yet, but we've been working with the Defense Department, where I have connections, and they've been interested because there's a huge need not only for lithium but for rare earth minerals, which can be found in the produced water from fracking, and also other types of brines. This technology is right now to get lithium, or other minerals that you'd get from produced water. Well, in particular lithium, you'd have to mine it, which is very expensive, takes years to do, environmentally is very disruptive. It's very, very, very expensive. The other way is something called direct lithium extraction, which a lot of companies, big companies, are trying to do, using chemical properties to try to get the lithium out of the brines. And it hasn't been successful so far, even though there's been hundreds of millions of dollars spent in this. So this would be different. This is a crystallization technology, which would extract the lithium from the produced water and other brines. Let me go to my screen here. So basically, this is just a quick 10-slide thing that we did for the Defense Department. You know that there are many critical minerals that the United States is dependent on foreign sources. The president has made it a priority to try to create a domestic supply for many of these critical minerals, including lithium. Let me just see why this isn't. And our objective, of course, is to unlock the mineral potential of domestic brines. And here's sort of in the macro how we would do it, and how we've sort of done it before in a very small way. And you can see that we'd use crystallization several times to first get at the sodium chloride, then get at the calcium chloride, then move to rare earth minerals, and then over to lithium. One thing that should be noted is doing this, it's one of the reasons crystallization was not pursued, as far as I could tell as a newbie to this field, is that people have thought it's too expensive compared to the other forms of, but what they didn't realize is in order to get to the lithium or the rare earth minerals through the produced water, you'd extract other things like sodium and calcium chloride, which you could sell to defray the cost. So one of the things that's very appealing about this is, there's many things that are appealing. One is the lithium and the other minerals are already in the water. We have the water. You don't have to. Right now, that water is either being re-injected, reused by oil companies, or put into injection wells, both which are not environmentally very good. So this would, you'd be able to extract minerals and lithium from the produced water and other brines. You'd be able to do it at a much lower cost. It would be, you wouldn't have the, it would be much more effective from what we've seen from our pilot. Moreover, you could produce fresh water from and that water is fresh enough that we've been injecting it, we've been putting it back into the Susquehanna River. It's met potable standards. So
1 minute warning.
yes. So basically, look, here's the process that we go through in a little table to show. And it shows sort of, we have a facility based in Wysox, Pennsylvania, where we would run. What we're asking for is we're trying to build a pilot. We're working with the Department of Defense. They're evaluating this. We're asking, it's hard to see this here, but on my screen, you can see we're asking for over 2 years, around a $3.5 million amount to do a pilot study where we would take brines from all over the country to be able to see where the best bang for the buck would be to get rare earth minerals and lithium to be able to increase the domestic supply, which we estimate, again, from central Pennsylvania alone, we could quintuple the domestic supply of lithium within the 2-year period. Any questions? I'd love to answer. Carolina, I heard you give a bunch of questions to other panelists. I'm sure you've got something.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I guess the question is, how long to develop, how long to commercialize it? So you're saying TRL is 7, starting at TRL 6. How long until it can generate some revenue?
So if what we want to do is this pilot to kind of show on a larger scale that this works, and also figure out where in the country we would build these facilities. Each facility we estimate would take between 18 to 24 months to build, which is not that long compared. I mean, if you look at the Thacker Pass mine and all these other alternatives, many more years to develop and much more expensive. I mean, moreover, it would cost probably around $250 million to build one of these facilities, whereas the Thacker Pass mine is $3 billion. So there's a lot of advantages to this. And the need for lithium and other rare earth minerals, we changed this to increase the emphasis on rare earth minerals because that's a major priority of the DoD. And there's certain things that we're seeing in these brines, like gallium and other minerals that are very, very important. So we have just been putting this together with DoD. There's an office there that we've been working with, and this is my first time presenting it to the private sector in any form. So I think it's something that we're going to need a lot of help from both the military, maybe the Department of Energy, and the private sector, because I think it's not just one facility. I mean, you've got the Smackover, you've got central Pennsylvania, you've got the Salton, you've got the Permian Basin. I mean, there are all these different places, and the need for lithium and these critical minerals is so acute domestically. So, anyways, yes.
So who's
And there's a
own the
sorry.
IP? Sorry, let me just
Yeah.
finish my line of questioning. So you're going to be owning the IP, or is that going to be owned by the government?
No, we own the IP. We own the IP. So the government has been, I mean, the only reason we went to the Department of Defense first is that's been my customer for my main business. And they have an acute need for drones, and the president has made it a priority that we have a domestic supply of this stuff, which I agree with. So, but we own the patents, and there's 4 patents and so forth. I put my name and email and phone number in the chat. And not only, I mean, I could also use some guidance on how to sort of broach this with the private sector community, because it's something new for me.
And the one thing I wanted to ask is there's a question in the chat also about the levels. If the level of parts per milliliter in the lithium water supply, is there a break even that it's even worth using the technology on?
No, I mean, it's interesting because the break even is there's so much, this water is so full of different I mean, the break even if you're just selling the sodium chloride or the calcium chloride, you're going to break even. Okay. So in that, originally my partners were doing very, very well without going for lithium or rare earth minerals. What happened is a lot of the oil companies started taking the water and putting it back into the ground, which in itself is, you read about these earthquakes. From my understanding, it's not from the fracking, it's from the water that they've already used being put back into the earth. So, this, I think the cost is having the US government or others work with the oil companies to make sure that the brines are not put back into the earth and not put in injection wells in Ohio and other places and are given to us so we could get the lithium out. But, I think the break-even point is literally it's you don't even have to get to the lithium. It's already with the other minerals that you can get out in the first rounds of crystallization.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam. And yeah, leave your contact information. I'm sure there are some folks on the call who would be willing to point you in the right directions.
Thank you very
does
much.
seem to be- yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you. I think last but not least, we're going to have V-Glass present now. Feel free to start sharing, Mike, whenever you're ready.
Can everybody see that? Oops, there it comes.
Yep.
That's it. Great. Thanks, Asher. I'm Mike Pettit, co-founder and CEO of V-Glass. We've developed next-generation vacuum insulated glass technology for affordable, ultra-high efficiency windows. A global market estimated at $67 billion annually. V-Glass is targeted at new construction as well as retrofit applications, with the latter being an early adopter market. The problem we address is that buildings consume a huge amount of energy, and windows are the hole in the dike where most of that energy is wasted. Our solution, an affordable window as warm as a wall, as illustrated in this infrared image taken on a very cold Wisconsin morning of two V-Glass VIGs in yellow that have more than 3 times the thermal efficiency of the dual pane windows you see in blue. For the homeowner, upgrading to V-Glass can reduce monthly heating and cooling costs by up to 50% and generate compelling financial returns. Our environmental and economic impact will also be significant. Based on DOE analysis, full implementation of V-Glass in the US could avoid 75% of the current carbon emissions and 90% of the energy wasted through today's windows, thereby saving US consumers more than $30 billion annually. To see where we fit in the market, I've plotted competing window technologies with increasing thermal efficiency moving left to right and increasing cost top to bottom. Clear glass and dual pane are low cost, low efficiency. With triple pane, you get a little more efficiency for a little more cost. With first generation vacuum glass, you get more efficiency at a lot more cost. V-Glass breaks this cost performance paradigm by having the highest thermal efficiency of any product on the market, produced at cost comparable to today's conventional windows. V-Glass is also 100% recyclable and has the lowest embodied carbon footprint of any of these technologies. We will go to market using existing industry supply chains where we have established relationships. To be clear, we are a tech company that will license our IP to establish glass manufacturers and window OEMs who will bring V-Glass to market globally. Our disruptive product design is supported by significant IP, which provides a strong defensive moat around our business. We have more than $100,000 in order backlog and deep collaborative relationships with 2 large manufacturers, one in North America and one in Europe. The EU manufacturer relationship is progressing much faster, which makes sense given how much more expensive energy is in Europe. Based on precedent, we expect V-Glass to be acquired by a large manufacturer in 2 to 4 years. We've accomplished all this with a very small technical team, all highly innovative problem solvers, named inventors on more than 200 patents. On the right, you see numerous organizations collaborating with us, including the DOE, which provides funding and technical support. As a tech company, we will generate very high margins under our licensing model and expect to grow rapidly once commercialization begins. We've raised $8.3 million to date, 4.2 from non-dilutive grants, with more in the pipeline. We recently applied for more federal grants, which could total 4.1 million in funding. No guaranteed win, but we have a very high success rate with Department of Energy grants. For our fundraising ask, we're looking for a venture capital firm to lead a $3 million round to accelerate our move out of the lab into a pilot plant. We've already circled more than $1 million from non-lead investors. Future funding of $15 million will be raised in 2 rounds to build and operate the pilot plant and for global rollout. We expect 50% or more of all future funding to come from non-dilutive sources. That said, V-Glass is likely to be acquired before all this capital is needed. I noticed some Department of Defense folks in the audience today, so I have one more ask. We recently applied for a 2026 DoD grant involving building energy efficiency. So we're seeking a site partner for a DoD building where we can demonstrate the superior thermal performance of V-Glass. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions now.
I have a question. So if you go back to the slide where you were saying full deployment of your glass in the US would have a certain amount of carbon impact, are you using only residential as your market, or can this be applied to like office buildings and skyscrapers too?
Right. So this is the current window stock in both residential and commercial buildings in the US, is what that slide was referring to.
Okay, so commercial as well. And then
Here we go.
I didn't see a really clear picture of an actual pane of your glass, except for I think the cover slide. What is the transparency and clarity of your glass? Because my firm, we've seen a few of these advanced glass plays before, and one of the big hurdles, especially for residential, is can you match the clarity of normal glass? Because people really don't like to see even a slight gray tinge. So how clear are you, and what's your plan for achieving that, a curb appeal essentially?
Sure. So we use standard glass. So we will have, the same clarity as any dual pane window because we're using ultimately the same components in the glass.
So is the IP is really around the vacuum sealing? Is that kind of where the differentiation is?
So there's a couple of areas where our current IP is located, and it's primarily around the creation of the edge seal, which needs to be both hermetic and durable. And then the whiskers, what we call whiskers in our unit, basically the spacers between the 2 panes of glass where the vacuum is drawn. And that gap, that vacuum gap, is about the thickness of human hair.
Is that how does it compare from like a durability and a longevity standpoint? Have you guys done much testing around that compared to, traditional alternatives?
So we've done the typical testing in the window industry. So we've done that both in our lab and at third parties, including the DOE's National Renewable Energy Lab. We actually believe that our product will have a 2x multiple in product life versus current dual and or triple pane windows that have organic seals, which deteriorate over time. Our seal is a welded metal to glass seal, which is completely inorganic, and we believe could last 40 years rather than, the 20 years or less that is typical for the current dual pane or triple pane production.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question, if someone has. Otherwise, I'll give a second for people to gather their thoughts. But otherwise,
And I put my contact information in the chat, so if anybody wants to reach out, I'd love to chat more.
yeah, you're way ahead of me. Way ahead of me. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, there is one question in the chat. Mike, very interesting. In my experience, DoD is relatively price insensitive. Are there DoD missions that could be supported and enabled with this glass?
Well, my understanding is the DoD has 300,000 buildings globally. And I'm assuming a significant number of those are not only using, dual pane glass, which is reasonably efficient, but probably a number of them still have single pane glass. And replacing single pane glass with V glass could generate up to 50% in HVAC savings. And according to my search, I think the Department of Defense in the most recent year has spent more than $3 billion in electrifying these buildings. A good portion of that would certainly be associated with HVAC costs.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I've heard stories of old boilers that they're using from, older installations that have, and even that more so, right? When you have such a old system running, I'm sure you want to keep all that heat in whenever you can and not have it, dissipate.
The analysis we've done to get to that 50% improvement doesn't include a downsizing of the HVAC system, which could ultimately save you CapEx for a replacement in a building that you retrofit with ultra high efficiency windows.
Sure, absolutely. All right, perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Yep. Paul Garcia just timed the Air Force has 88,000 buildings, a large portion of which are not climate controlled. Yep. Makes sense.
We can probably help.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect. Well, thank you to everyone who joined, and thank you to everyone who presented, to the panel, to the folks the companies, and stay tuned for our next showcase. It's going to be Industry 4.0. And again, this was a fantastic event, and I really appreciate everyone making the time. So thank you again, everyone, and thank you to the presenters. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.